with Stan Getz, and he would tell stories about all the things that he used to go through to try to create these sounds, and it wasn't that it wasn't an accident. They weren't unique by accident. Let's put it that way. I mean, they were very dedicated at becoming something new. But I guess the one that's gone that I never got to see live, I never got to sit down and ask any questions. I mentioned him earlier, was Junior Walker. It just seemed like all of a sudden I kept going, oh, I'll see you on Billy's tour, and I'll see you next time, and I'll see you next time, and all of a sudden he was gone. And I felt like such an idiot after that happened. But I would love to sit down with him. I mean, the Motown, that's like one of my favorite eras of music anyway. And all the stuff he did, and going into Philadelphia, I mean, good Lord. Absolutely. I'll tell you. Go ahead, Rick. What do you think?
There's a funny Miles Davis, John Coltrane story. Because Miles he practiced when he went to Juilliard and all that, but once he got out there playing, he really didn't practice his horn much. But Coltrane practiced all the time. He used to fall asleep with his horn in his hand sometimes in a hotel room. And he used to get out there on stage and do the same thing. He'd start a solo and get kind of lost in it and wouldn't know how to stop. I guess he kind of picked up that it kind of got to Miles sometimes, that he'd go a little too long on the solos. And so he went up to Miles and said, Miles, I don't know, man. I just start playing my solos. I just get playing, and I just don't know how to stop. And Miles says, just take the horn out of your mouth.
That's Miles.
Simplest answer is usually the best one.
Of course, he added a couple of expletives at the end of that. Sure. As only Miles could do, right?
Well, I tell you, this hour is passing by so fast. We'd like to... we're not done. We're not done. We'd like to open the questions up to the cruisers. If everybody has some questions that you'd like to ask this fine panel of musicians, right in the front here. Definitely a major influence on me. Definitely.
Repeat the question.
I'm sorry. Oh, she was just saying that she's surprised that none of the panel members mentioned Grover Washington Jr. And for me, he's definitely one of my major influences. But in terms of the two guys that I just listened to constantly, it was definitely Maceo Parker, and then later on Cannonball. I mean, I just kind of saturated their music, And Grover, I got a chance to know him. He's one of the finest gentlemen. I feel Grover's with me everywhere I go. The last time I saw him was in Cincinnati. We were doing the Riverfront Jazz Festival, and I'm checking in to the hotel, and I'm at the front desk, and all of a sudden these two arms come behind me around my neck like that, and I look, and it's Grover. And he's giving me a hug, and we just hugged because we hadn't seen each other in a long time. And shortly thereafter, he made his transition. But his music will live on forever. And tonight I'm gonna do a little Grover in the show. You know what I'm saying? As long as you can do, man. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you.
I also have a song on my new CD that I wrote as a tribute to Grover. In fact, I've written a song as a tribute to Grover on at least 3 CDs, including the new one. And this one is called Big Old Shoes, which I think probably applies maybe to most of us, to say that those folks that we mentioned, they're big shoes to try to walk in. And that's why I call it Big Old Shoes.
Very neat.
I have a question back here.
Okay, I'll wait. Yes.
About your different horns and what makes them different, and why did you choose those horns that you love?
Okay, the question was, we play different horns, and they're different brands, different makes. Why did we choose the horns that we have?
At what age?
At what age?
All right, mine is a German horn. It's I bought it in '89, so I'm assuming it was made around '88. And it's nickel plated. In fact, I believe Euge and I play the same brand, Keilwerth, or as they say in Germany, Keilwerth. And it's anodized nickel plated, so the black stuff is anodized nickel. And Tom Braxton as well plays Keilwerth. One of my favorite saxophone players, Tom.
We're all trying to be just like you, Kirk.
I want to be like Tom, but anyway. But this one I love, and normally in the era just before us, the Coltrane era, it was really about Selmers and the French horns. French horns, the French-made saxophones. And it seems like this German horn came in a time where Grover played one, and it kind of had its own little unique sound. I think it's really about getting out of the way. In other words, the more intimate you can become with your instrument, the less of the instrument you hear and the more of your heart that you can hear. And I feel like, so in that sense, it's not so much about the brand, but there are certain brands that are more out of the way when you get them out of the box. And I think Coward is one of them. I don't endorse them, and I don't really want to give them any more credit than, you know, but it's a good instrument.
And Rick, I noticed your trumpet. Now, I believe, does Terrence Blanchard play the same trumpet that you play?
Terrence plays
and Nicholas?
He plays a Monet.
A Monet, okay.
And this is a Getzen horn.
It's a Getzen. Okay.
Getzen made the horns for Doc Severinsen, and this horn, I kind of, you know, I can't really say it better than Kirk did, you know, when he talks about a horn being an extension of your voice, and really just looking for a horn that gets out of your way, because you think about it, we're basically blowing into plumbing, is what we're doing.
That's a visual. That's a very interesting visual.
It makes it so unsexy.
Yeah,
Speak for yourself, Rick.
Is that why you use the plunger?
you know, some of it's German, some of it's French, some of it's made in Wisconsin, but it's plumbing. So expressing yourself through this thing or that thing or that thing, it's like you're looking for something that really, you know, allows you to not think about it as being plumbing. And you just put your hands up to it and your mouth up to it, and it just feels like a part of you. And so this horn, for me, it's gold plated, and the gold plating, it's interesting because I always played, mouthpieces are normally nickel plated. It's brass with gold plating. And the gold plating feels softer. It feels softer against my face, and it's a more comfortable feel. And I've always fought the feeling of a mouthpiece, like there's a certain amount of pain involved in playing it. And the less of that you can create, the better off you are. And so this trumpet is just so comfortable. It's called a Getzen Genesis. And I'm just so glad that I found this. And the guy who makes my mouthpieces is up in Portland, Oregon. He's a madman. He's absolutely out of his mind, but I love him dearly, Joe Marcinkowitz. And we're dear friends. So there's some of that. There's a lot of love that's in this situation. I know the people who make it. They're good people, and I know they really care about what they do. And you have to make these instruments.
I was going to ask you, the gold plating on your mouthpiece, does that change the sound any, or is it just a comfort zone kind of thing?
The gold plating changes the entire instrument. It darkens it for me. And I play a pretty shallow mouthpiece, and there's a lot of physics involved. I don't want to go down that road, but I'm really battling physics with the kind of equipment that I play to get that nice, dark, you know, warm sound that I love, that Clifford Brown type of, and Chet Baker, you know, all of those guys had such a beautiful, fat sound. So, you know, I'm glad I found this thing. So I like it a lot.
Mindi, looks like you have a very unique Selmer there. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I actually played the same saxophone. My dad tricked me when I was 13 years old. And I thought we were going to the saxophone store to buy him a new saxophone. But actually, he tried out all the saxophones. He'd hand them to me to try out after he did, just to, you know, see what they were like. And after we picked out the right one for him, he handed it to me. So, what a cool thing. So I have played up until 1 year ago. I played that saxophone, and I had it since I was 13. So it took a lot, you know, as Rick says, a lot of heart and soul is in your horn, and you know that one had scratches all up and down it from marching band and from, you know, little clubs and here and there. It had confetti